What pulled you into trading? Was it the freedom? The money? The excitement of being right? The idea that you could work from anywhere, anytime, with no boss telling you what to do? If you are honest, trading is incredibly attractive. It offers unlimited freedom, unlimited creative expression, and unlimited money. But here is the danger that almost no one sees coming. The very same attraction that pulls you into trading is the thing that will destroy you, unless you understand it. This is Chapter 2 of Mark Douglas's Trading in the Zone. We are going to uncover why trading is so dangerously attractive and why most traders never survive the first year. Let me tell you a story that explains everything. Mark Douglas was speaking at a trading conference in Chicago in 1994. An editor from a major publishing house asked him a question: why do so few people become successful at trading, even people who are otherwise very accomplished? Douglas paused. Then he gave an answer that changes everything once you understand it. He said that the true underlying attraction to trading is far more fundamental and universal than most people realize. Trading offers the individual unlimited freedom of creative expression, a freedom that has been denied most of us for most of our lives. Here's what he meant. In the trading environment, you make almost all of the rules. There are very few restrictions or boundaries on how you can choose to express yourself. Once you are in a position to start trading, the possibilities for how you go about doing it are virtually limitless. In a seminar Douglas attended years earlier, someone calculated that if you combine bond futures, bond options, and the cash bond markets, there would be over 8 billion possible spread combinations. Add timing considerations, and the various ways to trade become virtually limitless. Unlimited possibilities, unlimited freedom. Sounds like paradise, right? Douglas then made a statement that separates the traders who will survive from those who will not. He said, unlimited possibilities, coupled with unlimited freedom to take advantage of those possibilities, present the individual with unique and specialized psychological challenges. Challenges that very few people are properly equipped to deal with or have any awareness of. The freedom is great. All of us seem to naturally want it, strive for it, even crave it. But that does not mean we have the appropriate psychological resources to operate effectively in an environment that has few, if any, boundaries. Almost everyone needs to make some mental adjustments, regardless of educational background, intelligence, or how successful they have been in other endeavors. The kind of adjustments Douglas is talking about have to do with creating an internal mental structure, a structure that provides the trader with the greatest degree of balance between the freedom to do anything and the potential to experience financial and psychological damage. Here is the core problem. Creating a mental structure is difficult enough, but for those of us who want to be traders, the difficulty is compounded by a backlog of mental resistance that starts developing at the very earliest stages of our lives. All of us are born into some sort of social environment: a family, a city, a state, a country. Social structure implies rules, restrictions, boundaries, and a set of beliefs that become a code of behavior. These structures limit the ways individuals can or cannot express themselves. Most of these limitations were established before we were born. By the time any of us arrive, most of the social structure governing our individual expression is in place and well entrenched. Now ask yourself this question: what one characteristic is common to every child born on this planet, regardless of location, culture, or social situation? The answer is curiosity. Every child is curious. Every child is eager to learn. Children can be described as little learning machines. Curiosity is an inner-directed force. There is no necessity to motivate a child to learn. Left on their own, children will naturally explore their surroundings. Furthermore, this inner-directed force seems to have its own agenda. Not all children are naturally curious about the same things. Douglas calls this inner-directed guidance the force of natural attractions. Natural attractions are simply those things about which we feel a natural or passionate interest. Here is where the conflict begins. The social structure. We are born into may or may not be sensitive to these inner-directed needs and interests. Douglas gives a perfect example. A toddler, for the first time in his life, notices a vase on the coffee table. He is curious. An inner force compels him to experience this object. It creates a vacuum in his mind that has to be filled with the object of his interest. He focuses on the vase. With deliberate intent, he crawls across the living room floor to the coffee table. When he gets there, he reaches up to the edge of the table to pull himself to his feet, with one hand firmly on the table to maintain his balance. His other hand reaches out to touch this thing he has never experienced. Just at that moment, he hears a scream from across the room. "No, don't touch that." Startled, the child falls back on his butt and begins to cry. Now, Douglas is not saying this is wrong. Children need to learn what is safe and what is valuable. But there are profound psychological dynamics here. What happens when we are denied the opportunity to express ourselves the way we want to, or forced to express ourselves in a way that does not correspond with our natural selection process? The experience creates an upset, an imbalance. Our needs and desires are generated in our mental environment. They are fulfilled in the exterior environment. When these two environments are not in correspondence, we experience dissatisfaction, anger, and frustration. Emotional pain. By the time we are 18 years old, we have been on Earth approximately 6,570 days. How many times per day does the typical child hear statements like, "No, you cannot do that," or "You cannot do it that way. You have to do it this way"? Even if we only heard such statements once or twice a day, that still adds up to several thousand denials by the time we reach adulthood. Douglas calls these experiences denied impulses to learn. Impulses based on an inner need, originating from the deeper part of our identity, from the natural selection process. What happens to all of these impulses that have been denied and left unfulfilled? Do they just go away? They can, if they are reconciled. If we do something, or someone else does something, to put our mental environment back into balance. The most natural way, especially for a child, is simply to cry. Crying is a natural mechanism for expelling negatively charged energy. If allowed to take its natural course, crying will expel the energy and bring us back to a state of balance. The problem is that most of the time, events are not allowed to take their natural course. Adults discourage crying. They do not explain why children are being forced to do something they do not want to do. What happens if these impulses are never reconciled? They accumulate, and they usually end up manifesting themselves in any number of addictive and compulsive behavior patterns. A very loose rule of thumb: whatever we believe we were deprived of as children can easily become addictions in adulthood. For example, many people are addicted to attention. They will do almost anything to draw attention to themselves. The most common reason is that they believe they either did not get enough attention when they were young, or did not get it when it was important to them. The deprivation becomes unresolved emotional energy that compels them to behave in ways that will satisfy the addiction. Now, here is where this connects directly to your trading. To operate effectively in the trading environment, you need rules and boundaries to guide your behavior. It is a simple fact that the potential exists to do enormous damage to yourself. Damage way out of proportion to what you may think is possible. To prevent this, you need to create an internal structure, specialized mental discipline, a perspective that guides your behavior so you always act in your own best interests. This structure has to exist within you, because unlike society, the market does not provide it. This is an extremely important distinction. The market is like a stream that is in constant motion. It does not start, stop, or wait. There is no rule that the opening price on any day must be the same as the closing price the day before. Nothing in society properly prepares us to function effectively in such a boundary-less environment. Even gambling games have built-in structures. In blackjack, you must decide how much you are going to risk before the hand is dealt. You are forced to make that choice by the rules of the game. If you do not make the choice, you do not get to play. In trading, no one except yourself is going to force you to decide your risk in advance. What we have is a limitless environment, where virtually anything can happen at any moment, and only the consistent winners define their risk in advance. For everyone else, defining the risk would force them to confront the reality that each trade has a probable outcome, meaning it could be a loser. Consistent losers do almost anything to avoid accepting this reality. No matter how good a trade looks, it could lose. This is the danger of unlimited freedom. And this is why most traders fail. In the next video, Chapter 3, we will explore the most important concept in the entire book, taking responsibility. Because until you take full responsibility for your results, the market will always feel like your enemy. If this video helped you, hit subscribe. Stack another brick. I will see you in the next one. Image description for segment 6. Element description. Subject trader at desk floating in dark space. Head and hands. Red downward arrow. Gold brick floating above. Color palette dark navy, black, deep red, gold. Mood hopeless, but with a small glimmer of hope.